Hold on to your tentacles. It's Inkopolis news time. Let's unveil the current regular battle stages. Alright. We used to work here, remember those uniforms? Yeah, I burned mine after I quit. Man, this place is such a ghost town these days. Totally, I've heard Gramps say he used to battle here. And now the current ranked battle stages. Fantastic. Palm trees, oh man, now I want coconut ice cream. A slice of octopi. The water level changes, this must be a tide pool. Research this machinery, Callie. Until next time, stay fresh. Hello everybody, my name is Luigi here to you, and welcome back to Let's Play Splatoon. In the previous episode, we conquered the global test fire demo for this game, and prior to that, we've conquered the entirety of Octo Valley. So we've completed the first part of this Let's Play, but now we're going to be getting into the second part, the Inkopolis tour. So, yeah, first thing you're going to notice when you boot up your save file is the Greatest Outfit has returned to Inkopolis Tower. I kind of feel bad about spoiling this a little bit earlier in the Let's Play because there were a couple parts where the camera was pointed upwards and you could see the Greatest Outfit Tower. But it's honestly not that big of a deal in my opinion. So the first thing I want to demonstrate is something that you're going to notice when you get into the Inkopolis the first time. Inklings everywhere. You're going to see the Inklings everywhere, and they're going to have a Miiverse post attached to them. This was the game's way of having Miiverse integration. There won't be anything like this in Splatoon 2, unfortunately, because there will be no Miiverse in that game. Although there is a way you can capture screenshots in that game because the capture button on the Joy-Cons. You can the posts that you see in the plaza. There is a box that lets you post directly there as well. Another thing you can use with the Inklings is if you saw an outfit that you liked, for the most part you can use the Inklings in your plaza to collect whatever outfits you want. There are a few restrictions, however, like the ones that are unlocked through amiibos. You cannot get those from the Inklings in the plaza. I don't think you can also get things like the Octoling armor or the Hero's armor from the story mode through this way. How this works is kind of weird though. You go up to them and you order the gear, and I believe you have to wait a day before you can go to talk to Spike, and you still have to pay for it, and it's kind of expensive. This is a great way to get armor that you may be missing if you want to try to get every piece of armor, but it's just not appearing in Booyah Base. Now, let's talk about Spike himself. Spike is pretty interesting with the history of Splatoon, because back when Splatfests were still a thing, the big thing about Splatfest was you could use those to collect Super Sea Snails. Super Sea Snails are very interesting because you can use those to open up item slots with the help of Spike, and you'll also be able to re-roll the abilities of your armor. So if you like a specific piece of armor but you're not a big fan of the attributes of it, you can use the Super Sea Snails to re-roll them. Getting the Super Sea Snails has a bit of history with it though. Originally, you'd be able to use Splatfest, and how well you did during those Splatfests would affect how many Super Sea Snails you would get. I'll go more in detail when we talk about Splatfests way later down the road. But the big thing I want to talk about with that is how you can get them now. Because Splatfests are no longer a thing, they kind of had to change the way you can get Super Sea Snails. Now you can also buy the ability to reroll the abilities with Spike. I believe that's a thing that can happen. But how you get Super Sea Snails now is just play a bunch of online matches. You have to win 30 regular battles or ranked battles. You do not need to have consecutive wins to be able to get this, and this number will not reset if the stage rotation changes. So, that's basically everything I wanted to mention about the Super Sea Snails, but there is one thing that I need to talk about with Spike that's kind of a disturbing detail. You see Spike, and you see the Super Sea Snails next to him. You see the one cowering in fear. Now do you see the ones next to him that are dead, and the screwdriver next to them? Spike is a monster! I'm bouncing on your head, I'm bouncing on your head, and I have a good reason for it, because the next thing we're going to be talking about is a glitch. I normally don't really like demonstrating glitches in my videos, but this is a really interesting one that I feel needs to be discussed. If you have two Inklings spawn near the wall over here, and if you jump on top of one of their heads and turn to squid form and dive into the wall, you can glitch through the wall and go behind Inkopolis. This is a very, very interesting glitch because you can see a bunch of details that you would never normally be able to see during normal gameplay. So, yeah, we're going to be demonstrating that as soon as we're done taking a look around. And it's actually kind of creepy going through this area the first time because, like, you don't know what is a solid object, you don't know what you can walk through, you don't know how far you can go, which, by the way, if you try walking beyond the sidewalk into the grass, you will fall off the face of the earth, as you will see in the clip right here. But right here is my favorite detail behind Inkopolis. The amiibo box is fully detailed. The back of it is fully detailed, and not just that, but the amiibo box is written in the Inkling language. You will never see this in normal gameplay, because if you try moving the camera to get behind it, it will never work. So this is the only way you can see it through legitimate means, so this is by far my favorite detail that would never be noticed during normal gameplay. Now over here we can see the back of Spike's alley. So like you can see the back of the seasonal models, which you'll never be able to see during normal gameplay, and it's pretty interesting and stuff like that. So yeah, as I said a moment ago, you can walk through most of the objects that are over here because they're not fully rendered. They're not solid objects because Nintendo would never expect you to be able to get back here in the first place. It's just so cool seeing all the neat little details. Like you can see stickers that you never be able to see. You can see the back of the amiibo box and things like that. It's just really cool all around, and this is one of my favorite glitches in gaming. You do want to be careful walking around this area though, because like I said earlier, you don't know what areas you can and can't walk on. Like I said, if you walk through the grass, you're going to fall off the face of the earth. If you get too close to the Inkopolis tower, again, you're going to fall off the face of the earth. But it's still really cool because, like this right here, you wouldn't really be able to see these air conditioning units during normal gameplay. And if you get inside one of the buildings, you can also see a bit more detail inside the buildings in Inkopolis themselves, like this coffee house right here. You can get a better look of it on the inside, which is really cool, and you can get a close-up look of the Squid Sisters, which, by the way, this is actually kind of funny with this camera angle, because, like, the Squid Sister models, they look like giants. They look like 60 feet Squid Sisters, or whatever the term you want to use. So, yeah, I'll talk more about the Squid Sisters being there in a moment, but right now you can just enjoy. They're lollipops right there! Oh my god, that's such a cute little detail! They have lollipops inside their cup! That is so cute! And right here, I'm going to try to give you guys a pretty good close-up of the menus that are in the coffee house. Again, I just really love this glitch because you get a really good chance to see more details in Inkopolis Plaza that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. Which begs the question, why is this happening? Why can you walk beyond Inkopolis Plaza? My favorite theory that I saw in the comments for a video once was that maybe you were originally supposed to be able to go beyond Inkopolis, and maybe you were supposed to be able to walk further. Like maybe Inkopolis was originally going to be a lot larger, like maybe you could go to the train station, for instance, but this idea was scrapped earlier on in development, so that's the reason why that's not the case. You can get a close-up look of the train right there, so if you want to, you can look at that. And what I find funny is that the back of this isn't even modeled. They didn't even put a back on this air conditioning unit, which is especially funny considering how insane they go into detail for stuff later, which we'll see later in the video. Now here you can get a really close-up look of the interiors of the buildings for Booyah Base. So you want to be careful because if you walk too far into the buildings, then it's going to register you going inside the shops itself, So, for instance, if you walk too far into this store, you're going to spawn inside the headgear place. So that's not exactly pleasant if you want to explore out beyond where you're supposed to see. But it's just kind of funny seeing this stuff up close and personal because everything is like a 2D texture in this area, and you're not supposed to see these this close. And a lot of these don't even have backs on them. Like they didn't even model a back of these buildings, which is really funny. One more thing that I want to talk about in this video is the gamepad minigames. When we walk up to this area right here, we can play minigames on the gamepad. These are the same minigames that will appear in the lobby when you're waiting for an online match to start. I really like the fact that you can play these at any time that you want, because if I couldn't, then I would not be able to demonstrate this for my Let's Play. And let me just say, trying to record this footage was like the weirdest experience ever when trying to record footage, because gamepad capture cards are expensive. I'm not going to be able to afford one for a long time, and I don't really need one for Let's Play for a little while, though. So that's the reason why I haven't really been investing in a gamepad capture card, but that's besides the point. The point is, I want to be able to demonstrate these minigames, but I can't afford a gamepad capture card right now. So this setup that I used to record this footage took a really long time to figure out. What I basically did was I put a gamepad on a stand, and I set up my camera on a couple books and put a stand on that as well, so that it would record directly onto the gamepad when you won't be able to see like the buttons or anything like that. You just see the minigames. But whenever I experimented with this, my reflection would appear off the gamepad screen and the camera would be able to see that. And I don't want my face in the video. So I sat here for like half an hour recording all these minigames in the most awkward position possible, with my arms stretched around my camera to play the game. And not just that, I had to do this in the dark so that my reflection wouldn't appear on the gamepad. I sat here for 30 minutes with two bright screens in an awkward position in the dark to record this for you. You better appreciate it! Now, as for the minigames themselves, the first one that I'm going to be demonstrating is a squid jump. Squid jump is unlocked by default. You're going to have this unlocked from the get-go, and it's going to be the one that you're probably going to be playing the most often, because, in case you didn't want to get into the amiibo levels or anything like that. Squid jump, it's pretty simplistic. It's a 2D platformer. It's a very vertical game. You just jump up to the top. You'll see more and more gameplay gimmicks as the game goes on. Like you'll see conveyor belts, and you'll see power-ups like this one that makes you go faster, or this one that gives you a double jump, or things like that. It gets really hard towards the end of the game, and I've never actually been able to beat it. But it's still a really fun minigame. The next one I'm going to demonstrate is a squid ball, and this is my least favorite one. You unlock this by getting to a certain point in the Inkling Girl amiibo challenges. How this one works is it's kind of a weird volleyball-like game. The weird thing about it is you pretty much have no control over how much over where the ball is going to be going. You jump and then you jump again to do like a little spin kick to knock the ball into the goal or whatever. You need to get a certain amount of points to be able to progress through the level. Some of these creatures are worth more than others, obviously, but it's still really weird, and I'm not really that big of a fan of this minigame, so, like, the recording footage for this is probably going to be the last that I ever play this game. The next one I want to demonstrate is Squid Racers, and this one is really cool. You unlock this through the Inkling Boy amiibo challenges by getting to a certain point through those. The Squid Racer minigame plays like a top-down version of Mario Kart without items or any of the weird gimmicks they have nowadays. It is kind of chaotic because you have all these racers and you can bump into them, but the really cool thing is that you have a bunch of cool power-ups that lets you go faster. One of the power-ups even lets you eat them. By far the most difficult power-up to deal with is this one that makes you go faster, but it also kind of messes with your controls and makes it so that, like, pressing pressing the thumbstick a little to the centimeter, like a centimeter to the right, will make it spin like 360 billion degrees or something like that. So that was a bit of a interesting experience. This is the further all these mini games. This is like the furthest I've ever gotten on all of these. The last minigame is Squid Beats, and this is kind of a weird one. It's a rhythm game. I'm not really that big of a fan of rhythm games, but this is a great one this is a great minigame to play between matches, but not necessarily for playing. What I mean by that is, it's kind of weird having your rhythm game abruptly end because of an online match is starting, and then trying to get back into the rhythm once that online match ends. So this is definitely a minigame that either is best played in Inkopolis Plaza, or to just listen to music in between online matches. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment so you can listen to the music. So please keep in mind that I'm not the best at rhythm games, so my gameplay might be a little cringy. The next thing that I want to demonstrate real quick is the balconies for Inkopolis Plaza, because right here we have a battle dojo, and this is a very simplistic mode. This is going to get its own video down the line, but what I wanted to demonstrate was the fact that you could see like 2D textures of Wii U controllers on the wall, so that's pretty cool. But by far my favorite detail, aside from the amiibo box thing that you can normally see during normal gameplay, is seeing the Squid Sisters inside their own studio. So like you can see that they're having like a nice, pleasant little conversation with each other, and they'll eventually wave at you, which is like the cutest thing ever. Because like, let's be honest, the Squid Sisters are like the best thing in this game. But that's everything I want to demonstrate in Inkopolis Plaza that you can see during normal gameplay. But we still have a few more things that I want to talk about, and before I get even further, I want to say I have to give huge thanks to Mr. Shesez himself, Mr. Boundary Break, for allowing me to use his footage for this part. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for allowing me to use your footage. This is stuff that I want to talk about, but I don't have the hacking abilities to be able to pull this off myself, so huge thank you for allowing me to use this. A few things I want to demonstrate was the fact that the Ferris wheel off in the distance has some pretty interesting textures with it. It's kind of funny because it looks impressive in the plaza itself, but when you get closer to it, you realize just how low polygon it is, and things like that. There are also a couple warehouses, warehouse-like areas that you would never be able to see during normal gameplay, and there are also some purple columns of doom and destruction and death. The fox statue, I think that's supposed to be a fox, whatever it's supposed to be. That statue has red feet, and the cool thing about this is the fact that you'll only be able to ever see this once in normal gameplay. When you boot up your save file, you can kind of get a good look at it, but you can only really see that it has like red toes, but you'd never be able to see the bottom of its feet. So that's a pretty interesting little detail. The train, something weird about it is the fact that it doesn't go in a regular loop like you'd think it would. It goes around for a bit, disappears, and respawns back in the original spot. Maybe it was easier to have it respawn and restart the animation than it is to just have it loop endlessly. I'm not entirely sure about that. Next thing I want to talk about is the plane, because just like the amiibo box, the plane has some Inkling language on it, so that's kind of cool. Right here, you're gonna get like a really cool zoom out of Aqua Valley, which, by the way, I gotta say, the zoom outs are like the coolest part of the Boundary Break series, because I really love seeing just how much is actually rendered in games, so that's really, really cool. And this is what Inkopolis Plaza looks like in the game, so yeah, you can definitely tell that you weren't supposed to be over here, but what's really interesting is the fact that you can see a bunch of small buildings that are like impossible to see during normal gameplay. And that's going to be a trend that we're going to see a lot as we go beyond the boundaries for Splatoon. The really cool thing is there are these two cars right here that I believe this is the only part of the game that they ever appear in, and you would never be able to see this. The Museum de Alfonsino is fully rendered outside of the building. Like, you can see all the details, like the entrances, and it looks like a real entrance to a museum. And it's just all so beautiful and things like that. It just looks really cool. So, this game, I know I've said this before, but the amount of detail they put into this world beyond what you're supposed to see, it's just mind-blowing. There are a couple other small details I want to point out, like the fact that you can see trash cans and benchmarks beyond the walls of where you're supposed to go. But by far, my favorite detail that you won't never be able to see during normal gameplay is Anchovy Games, because there is a room with unique textures you will never see during normal gameplay. It is impossible to get in here. It is fully detailed and everything, but you'd never be able to come in here, so it's just so cool that they would do stuff like that. So as we end off this video, I'm going to provide a couple more shots of some zoom outs for some of the stages. And while we do that, I want to give another shout out to Shesez and the guy behind Boundary Break for allowing me to use his footage for this, because, again, I really want to be able to talk about this, but I don't have the hacking abilities to be able to do this myself. So, huge shout out to you for allowing me to use the footage. I'll have a link to your channel during the end screen and and in the description below. So be sure to check it out because Boundary Break is awesome. That is everything that I wanted to demonstrate in Inkopolis Plaza. So what's next for us, you may ask? Well, we have amiibo challenges to go through. But I'm going to be doing something a little unique about this, because something I've noticed with these Let's Plays is that people who Let's Play this game only show off a few of the amiibo levels. They don't show off all of them. I plan on demonstrating every single amiibo level in the game. So, next episode, we're going to be looking at the levels for the Inkling Girl amiibo challenges. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video of Splatoon. And until next time, lead gear to you. Oh yeah.